Hey, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started right now. If you'd like, we can go ahead and pop in the chat box what county you're coming in from. So here we are. A lot of folks are having their holiday gatherings at the Master Gardener offices, which is so much fun. We've got folks coming in from Palm Beach, Alachua, Pasco, Polk, Collier, Polk, Flagler, Clay. Welcome, everybody. We're glad you're here. Hi, Diane. Volusia County's here. St. Johns County, Miami-Dade County, Okaloosa County. Wonderful. I'm glad y'all are here with us today. Thank you so much. Let me see how many folks we have joining us. Oh, over 200 already. So that's good. Well, thank you so much for taking your time today to be with us. I am your presenter. And we're going to be talking about projects to be proud of in the Master Gardener program. Most of these are nominations that were put in for the Awards of Excellence. They were very highly rated by the judges and definitely impressed me and the group here. So I wanted to share them with you because they are quite interesting, and I think that you're going to find them really cool. They each have unique ways. But before I get started on the projects, I wanted to do a shameless plug of, since you're all in the shopping mode anyway, we do have some products at the IFAS bookstore, and I bet Becky's going to drop a link in there for you to look at our new materials that we have. A portion of the sales of these go directly back to the State Master Gardener program, which is awesome. So we have a ladies polo and we have a men's polo. We have got a great canvas tote bag, and we have the best hat ever, which I like. It's a great little hat. Been wearing it a lot, especially on a bad hair day. And we have a cling that looks good on your window of your car or on a window of a glass panel. I have some on my office windows here. So, oh, we got people coming from all over the state, from Monroe all the way up to the Panhandle. So welcome, everybody. Okay, so the projects that I'm going to share today are actually I hope that they inspire you also, that you will see them and say, oh, I can do this in my own county. And that's what my design is for the day. And if I miss your project, I'm sorry. I will try to get it highlighted in another way. And I did want you to know that all the Awards of Excellence winners, their write-ups and their applications will be on the Master Gardener website in the next couple of months. Okay, so the first one I would like to highlight today is the Carrollwood Village Park in Hillsborough County. This garden was part of a big development of a park of a former wastewater treatment plant. And it has lots of trails and picnic shelters and playgrounds. And the park administrators reached out to the Master Gardener program in Hillsborough and asked if they could do a planting. And they did. And it really highlights a lot of native plants, and there's teaching moments. They did have some funding from the park and from Viva Florida Grant, Tampa Bay Sierra Club, Home Depot, etc. And 19 Master Gardeners planted and help maintain this park. And you can see what it looks like. This is the beginning with just a cypress tree. And the Master Gardeners, when they saw that, saw a ton of potential. And on the right-hand side, you can see the beautiful native plantings and the pine straw mulch that went in. This park really got a lot of great press. That was on the news, and they had a lot of good publicity from this park. So you can see here some of the plants they used: Elliott's aster, swamp milkweed, Tampa verbane, canna, and muley grasses, and coreopsis, and just a lot of different natives mixed in there just to bring in color. And it has become a real hub for the park for people wanting to learn about native plants. So there's been classes there, there's signs, good signage, and people are really learning a lot from this park. Okay. Our next one to talk about is Bay County. Bay County is Panama City, and Panama City has a demonstration garden at their office, but they put their demonstration garden online. And what they wanted is if people could not come and view the garden itself in person, they wanted people to be able to access it on the computer. And so I think I'm going to try, Becky, help me if I get lost, that you'll help me get back. But I will swing this over. And this is what the website looks like. And so for each planting of the garden, they have highlighted it. And one of my favorite things at their garden is the herb spiral. And so they showed how it was constructed. They have a great write-up. They show it from the beginning and the design. And you can see it as it progressed and the finished product. So they basically took every little chunk of their garden and put it online so people can access it. I want to show you one other one that they did a great job on, which was, I think it's the pollinator garden I like. And they have a great way to show you that. It's a really very great demonstration. And there's their office, and that's what the gardens look like most of the time. I bet with the cold weather, it looks a little bit different right now. They also do a great job of writing up each plant, so folks can really learn a lot, and they hold classes in these gardens as well. And then as a consumer, if you've gone ahead and attended that class, when you come back, you may want to come home and look it back up on the internet. And so they have done a great job creating a virtual demonstration garden. So Lauren is in the chat box. She's the new MGV coordinator in Bay County. So if we have questions for Lauren, she's going to hang out with us if you need to ask her about this project. I have a question, Lauren. Lauren, hi there.
Hey.
Who maintains the website? Who does that for you? Is it a master gardener, or is it county staff, or who does that for you?
So, the previous agent, Julie McConnell, when she was in this position, started the website, and then that's been added to and maintained by the current master gardener volunteers that we have here.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, our next project is the Charlotte County Demonstration Garden. And I'll click away from that. Charlotte County has received more of its than its share of hurricane activity in the recent days. But in 2022, Hurricane Ian really impacted Charlotte County Demonstration Garden. And I want to show you that this is what it had looked like before. It had pollinator plants, bromeliads, bulbs, vines, succulents, cacti. So it was a really great garden, and it was a huge teaching element for them there. And this is what it looked like after Hurricane Ian came in 2022. So, I mean, this is a tale that's been retold many times across Florida in the last few years, but can you imagine all the work that had gone into that garden and then to have it devastated like this? But we're a resilient group, and they brought things back up from the ashes and did a beautiful job of going ahead and with the master gardeners, as well as the community came back together to get this demonstration garden back going. So you can really see the difference there. Congratulations to Charlotte County for doing such a good job and rebuilding from the destruction. I'm really, really proud and impressed with you all. All right, the next garden to talk about is, or this is actually a display. In Broward County, The group came together, but especially one person came together to create a little big free library project. And you've seen these little library boxes that can go into a neighborhood or a community area. But it's really awesome that they put this in their demonstration garden, and they have chocked it full of gardening books, landscaping books, plants, books about plants and about insects, etc. So it's very well curated, and they love art in Broward County. So they did a beautiful job painting and creating this box. And you can see the design that was used was a really hardy structure design. It's just a beautiful, inspirational little library box. And this project holds significant personal significance for Master Gardener Josh Green. Josh went ahead and dedicated this little library to his mother in recognition of her 40 years as a school teacher in New York City and Broward County. And she was able to be there for the dedication of this library box. Also there was the Davie Vice Mayor, Susan Starkey, came out to see the unveiling of the box as well. And you can see how the mom is just really surprised and so impressed with this. So I want to make a point that when you are having a garden or a project or a reveal, it's okay to make an event out of it and to invite your local officials to come in, or your county manager or your county mayor or someone, and to really make it a special event like they did for this. And I know that that library box will be appreciated for many, many years to come. So congratulations to the Broward County Master Gardeners for that. So the next project I would like to talk about is the Pasco County Fair Butterfly Booth. And the Pasco County Master Gardener, so Pasco County is like the Wesley Chapel area of Florida, north of Tampa, if you weren't sure where Pasco was. So they have a county fair like many of us do. They wanted to have an impressive Master Gardener volunteer booth to meet the people that were coming in from the fair. So what they did was to get a 9x11 screened enclosure tent, and they chalked it full of butterfly plants, nectar plants, host plants, and they actually purchased butterflies to release in this butterfly garden enclosure so folks could walk through and get to experience the butterflies. This is the third year that they've done this at the fair, and they have this year alone had over 2,800 people attend. So it's a really neat booth. And they greet people, they talk to them about butterflies. They definitely make sure that the butterflies don't escape. They answer questions, they keep statistics, and they do a really fantastic job there. And this is what it looks like. So they have the tent that's screened in, they have the butterflies there. And then when they learn about the plants, they learn about the insects. And then when they walk out, they are able to engage with the master gardeners, see the display, pick up information about pollinators and butterflies. I know a lot of you all do something similar to this. I just thought that the Pasco County's group did such a lovely job. And I love this signage that they had created to really draw people into this booth. So a little bit of time, a little bit of effort made such a quite impactful display. So congratulations to Pasco County on that. So this is a project that you might have heard about if you did attend the Master Gardener Conference, because they did win an award. But I did want to highlight this again because it's such a neat project. And this is Martin County's Taste of the Tropics. This event is held annually at the Martin County Fairgrounds. It's designed for folks of all ages to come in, learn about tropical fruits and taste them, and educate folks about it. So this is a standing event for them. So basically every meeting that the Martin County Master Gardeners have, they talk about this big event, and they plan for months in advance. And they plan because they are collecting fruit well ahead of time in some cases, and maybe making ice cream or juices or dehydrating or jams or jellies. So they will have a good sampling of these fruits at the Taste of the Tropics. So they want to educate people. They want to get them excited about the things that they're demonstrating there. And this is what it looks like. They've got plenty of mangoes. These are jaboticaba. They've got a fruit tasting station, a tea tasting station. They've got plants to sell, to taste, and then they interact with the master gardeners, and they have a ton of master gardeners there that go ahead and really help people understand. So they do this as a free event, but I'm inspired for this to almost be, this could possibly be a fundraising type event if you wanted to put this on in your county, that people pay a few dollars to get in the door, and then they would have the access to this. So it's a really neat project, and it's a great way to educate. And there's the dehydrated jackfruit, and you can see it's a real all hands on deck with everybody there. There's a ton of master gardeners that participate, and they have a very, very great turnout. Okay, our next project is a project that was done to educate about birds. And this was done by Alan Feldman, Teresa Brower, Cynthia Colt, and Heather Diaz. And they wanted to do one of our principles for Florida Friendly Landscaping is attracting wildlife, and birding is extremely popular with our clientele. So they wanted to create materials, educational materials for educating about birds. But a lot of times, we may not be very comfortable with a PowerPoint presentation or setting up a projector and dealing with the laptop and, taking all that stuff to a location. So they created the materials in two ways. One is the PowerPoint, but another is a very large flip chart that I'm about to show you. And the materials, they use this at a festival that they call Green Fest. They take it to the Tampa Garden Club and the Seminole Heights Library, and they have other presentations that were already scheduled for this year. So there is Alan, but look at this neat flip chart that they use the PowerPoint slides to create. So this way, if it's a beautiful day outside and we don't want to be sitting in a room, watching a computer screen, then they go outside and they use the flip chart to educate. And that's nice. Now, he probably could talk off the hip about birds because he knows a lot about birds, but it is nice to have the visuals and the props to go with it. So Alan developed the materials, Cynthia got them into the library, and Heather at the Green Fest, and then Teresa Brower did the photographs of the birds. But look at this lovely setting that they have there on a beautiful day learning about birds. And this is one of their social media posts that they use to promote the birding. And this is what the PowerPoint looks like. So they did a great job on this, and I wanted to highlight them. So great job, Hillsborough County, on attracting birds to your yard. The next group I want to talk about is an invasive plant removal team at Brinkley Glen Park, Leon County. Mark Tanzig heads up this group in Leon and Tallahassee. I don't think any of them are here right now because they're having their holiday party. But Mark took them to Brinkley Glen Park to look at native plants. And when the master gardeners were there, they saw the native plants, but they also saw so many invasive plants, and they felt like, oh, we could really make a difference here. So they wanted to make sure to uncover the great natives that were there and to help suppress the invasives like coral ardesia, camphor trees, Japanese climbing fern, nandina, et cetera, et cetera. So they scheduled work days that they could get together and help remove plants. Of course, they had to partner with the park system. With the Native Plant Society was helpful in their partnerships, the Florida Wildlife Commission, 4-H and other schools, and they're not just free labor. They're not just out there removing plants to help the park be better. They use these removal days as educational opportunities. So they interact with park goers and talk to them about invasive plants. And then when they have tree planting days or earth days, they have events there to educate more about invasive plant removal. So Howard Kirk and Clara Mullins have really done a lot of work up there in Leon County at Brinkley Glen Park. And they're trying to help people identify these plants and learn about their removal and why it's important to get these invasive plants under control, especially in these public areas. So good job, Leon County. Another project that's really awesome as far as the teamwork goes is the Winter Haven Farmers Market group from Polk County. So in Winter Haven, they have a farmers market that began a few years back, and the Master Gardeners started going there to table and to give out information every second Saturday of the month. They have about 50 vendors there. There's about 500 people come through that come past the Master Gardener office or Master Gardener table. And it's a really great team of folks. And what mostly impressed me and the judges about this team was there's 16 master gardeners that show up at this farmer's market on any given Saturday. So they really, it doesn't just fall on that one or two people always doing it. They are really sharing the responsibility and sharing the time that they are putting out at this farmer's market. So it doesn't feel like one person or one or two people are doing all the work. And I think the reason why they are able to get so many people involved is because they're a lot of fun. So Pat Ferris puts an umbrella out and puts butterflies on it, and she calls it her rainy day umbrella, and walks around the farmer's market attracting people to come to the booth. And they have great signage. They say, come on over. Let me tell you something about it. If you have a question, we have answers. And you can see Marcy here has a little hat that she wears. They all wear a red fascinator hat to draw attention to the Master Gardener table. And they do a great job getting the information out there, and they speak with a lot of folks. So we really try to they have guidance, of course, from Ann Yaslonis. And she is, of course, making sure that all the great information is out there and they have the best information. But instead of going all the way from Winter Haven all the way back to Bartow, they keep the information or the farmer's market trug or box at one of the team members' houses, so that somebody doesn't have to go all the way back to Bartow to get the information. Or they do go and to restock, but it makes it easier and more convenient. And then that box travels around to the folks that are closest to this farmer's market. Because one thing we know about volunteering, it has to be fulfilling, it has to be fun, and it also has to be convenient. And this team at the Winter Haven Market has done a really great job at that. So congratulations to Polk County Master Gardeners. So there's going up to the Panhandle now. I'm going to talk to you about the library project that Walton County has done. So the Walton County library system decided that they were going to have a seed catalog, and they I think the library realized that they might have been a little bit out of their depth when they came up with this idea. And so they called in the Master Gardeners to help, and Master Gardeners were like, sure, we can come and help you. And so they set up a way to get the seeds distributed, but more importantly, they also got the people to, the library wanted to have classes given. So the Master Gardeners in Walton County started giving classes at the library and getting people connected with gardening, helping them put the right plant in the right place, learn about Florida-friendly landscaping, as well as vegetable gardening. And the lectures are offered at multiple libraries in the system, and they even have interactive programs for school kids as well. And so one of the neat things is that the Master Gardeners are on the library calendar. So if you're doing a library event, make sure that you're on their calendar, make sure that you're on their website, And that is a reoccurring event. So folks get used to having the Master Gardener education at the library if you're partnering with them. And they've just done a terrific job of getting the word out. And a lot of times, again, the library is convenient, maybe a little bit more convenient to the extension office to getting the information out to the people who need it. So great job, Walton County. Walton County is Defuniak Springs, if you were wondering. All right, the next project I want to highlight is the Sundial Garden in Manatee County. And Manatee County has a wonderful demonstration garden at their office in Palmetto. Palmetto, Florida is in Southwest Florida on the north of Sarasota, but south of Pinellas County. And the Master Gardeners there take great pride in their demonstration garden. It's just beautiful. But they have a sundial garden there. And last time I was there, they were real happy to show me the sundial. I'm like, oh, okay, human sundial, that'll be nice. But what I didn't realize is that it is an amazing native plant and rare wildflower demonstration area. So fantastic demonstration. And I'll show you the pictures. So this is kind of the before picture a long time ago when it was just some annuals and a little sundial. And now their mission for this garden is to select, maintain, propagate drought-tolerant and underutilized rare native plants and wildflowers. And they select plants that are endemic to the pine flatlands and the scrub habitats, the native environments around Manatee County. So I have to tell you, the first time I saw that garden, there were plants I had never even heard of before. And, you know, I kind of pay attention to plants. So this was really eye-opening for me that there's some very rare, unique plants there. So I would encourage you to go visit this garden if possible. And this is what it looks like now. So it is still a sundial, it still functions. So you can stand here and depending on the month, it will help you tell the time. But you can see that the native plants have really expanded all around this garden. And in addition to the garden planting, they do such a great job educating. They have a huge list of all the plants, and that is available to the visitors who come by. And you can see them educating. And remember the pollinator census that we did back in August? They used this garden to do their pollinator counts at. So this is a picture of them counting pollinators down here. And you can see that they propagate rare plants from this garden and they sell them at the Master Gardener plant sale or get them distributed to the Master Gardeners as well. So what's neat about that is that, so not only are they doing preservation by growing them there, they're getting them into the hands of people who can use them and get them into the right habitats as well. So that's also a great way to do conservation. Congratulations, Manatee County, on that. All right, the next one I want to talk about is a project called Big Bodacious Bugs. This is from Nature Coast. So Nature Coast is a combination of Levy County, Gilchrist County, and Dixie County. Those are in kind of the north, they call it the Nature Coast. So, so it's around the Cedar Key area, Old Town, Swanee, Trenton area. And the students there in the summer, the teachers were worried that they were going to have the summer slide. So where the kids aren't reading, they're not keeping up with their studies, that they don't have a lot of opportunity to have enrichment. So the Master Gardeners, with their expertise and their love of plants and insects, decided that they would create a really fun curriculum to get these kids excited about learning about insects. And Barbara did a great job with her application, or they did a great job with the application. So she said, Felicia, an elementary school teacher, stated she'll use the information gained to teach her class about bugs. And one elementary age child stated, I feel like a scientist after she got finished going to the camp. So they visited 5 libraries in 5 days, and it was a very intense week. And they engage kids and adults and learning to touch, smell, see, listen to all kinds of insects and give them fun facts and fun learning things. And their target audience was 5 to 11-year-olds, but they ended up teaching a lot of parents as well. And the National Summer Reading Challenge encourages children to read 12 hours per week. And they really got the kids in touch with a lot of books on insects and plants and ecology and nature. So that was their idea, was to get them stimulated by these projects to go ahead and check out books and read. And it was, Barbara told me another story that, this little girl is like, where's my library card, Grandma? I need my library card because I'm going to go check out this book right away. So, you all, we don't know what kind of seeds we're planting. We don't know what kind of connections we're making with these kids. We might have just turned that child's life around from a kind of a disinterested student to a lifelong learner or someone who's really interested in nature going forward. So great job to the Nature Coast Master Gardeners for getting this information out there. So these are some of their projects. Now, Barbara Edmonds at Nature Coast asked me to let you know that if you wanted, she would be able to share the curriculum with you and let you know what big bodacious bug projects they did. So if you wanted to implement this in a library or a school system around, she would be able to provide you that information. And so some great pictures here. 7-year-old boy said, my favorite bug is a beetle because they can eat dead wood and some of them have horns. And this person said, I learned that a spider is not an insect. And this is the best story. One woman intending for her child to say thank you when she prompted her by, what do you say? The child said proboscis. So she learned a new word and she was ready to use it and show it off. So congratulations to Nature Coast for doing such a great job educating the kids in the summer. And I believe this is the last project I wanted to share with you today. This is on the Rangpur Limes Orchard Restoration in Broward County. This happened at the Bonnet House Museum and Gardens in Fort Lauderdale, and this is right off of Sunrise and A1A. There's a beautiful gardens there, and it was the home of Frederick and Helen Bartlett. And it's a beautiful estate. It's an amazing piece of land that's right on the Atlantic Ocean. And it's very interesting if you ever get a chance to go there. But on their property, they had this citrus called the Rangpur lime. It's a hybrid citrus. It's a cross between a mandarin and a citron. And it has a kind of a unique flavor. It's not really a lime. It's kind of just a tart orange, but it's bright. And this was their citrus that was kind of like, it was in their signature cocktail, or they made like a limeade out of it. And so everyone who visited the Bonnet House got to have this drink. Well, these trees don't live forever, and only about 50 years, and their old tree was really starting to decline, had signs of stress, decay, was having a lot of problems with insects, and it hadn't made fruit in a long time. So the master gardeners really wanted to try to preserve this signature tree to the property. And they didn't want to replace it with just any old Rangpur. They wanted to try to see if they could take and propagate from the old tree. So they did that by using air layering, and they were able to make good air layers off of this old tree. And so that is actually a clone of the old Bartlett tree that they had brought back from India so many years earlier. And these are the master gardeners. Geo is there. And so this is the orchard that they were able to, so they didn't just make one clone, they made multiple clones. And so they have created a Rangpur lime orchard now. Unfortunately, the old tree did pass away, but they have this whole new orchard and keeping the tradition of the Rangpur lime going in at the Bonnet House Gardens. So just an excellent job of what master gardeners can do. And the Citrus Courtyard is now also an educational stop. Students visit, and they do use it as an educational opportunity for talking about growing citrus, also raising awareness about citrus greening, and really talking about the ins and outs of citrus. And so it's a jumping off point to do the education. So it's really great job, Broward County on that. And I believe with that, I want to thank you for attending all the Master Gardener webinars that we have had in 2024. We've had some really big crowds that came in. You all have been very attentive, and I want to make you happy with the webinars, and we want to try and keep them entertaining and definitely informative, and definitely lending to creating a better trained, more advanced trained Master Gardener. So, but if you're a new Master Gardener, keep learning. Try to find your niche. If you're a seasoned Master Gardener, keep being awesome, keep being a leader, and also keep learning. So we will see you at the 2025 webinars, and we do have the registration. Becky just dropped it in the chat if you want to check it out. Next month, we will have Micah McMillan talking about the alternatives to peat as far as potting soil goes. Then in February, Yuri Holker from the Department of Wildlife Ecology is going to talk about preserving snags and stumps for your yard's ecology. In March 27th, we're going to learn about invasive species in the landscape with our new invasive scientist, Dr. Sockman Kim. In April, Chris Marble is going to talk to us about toxic weeds and invasive. We're going to learn about poisonous plants. We're going to have a turf update in May with AJ Lindsay. He's our turf specialist. In June, Tia Silvasi from Hillsborough County is going to teach us about clumping bamboo. And we have a lot of questions about bamboo for Tia. So we're going to really ask her hard questions. Then in July, we will have prevention of mosquitoes and mosquito-borne illnesses. There's some updates to that we want to learn about from our mosquito specialist, Ava Buckner. And August, we will have plant people interaction with Lee Deal, our horticultural therapist. It's going to be a little bit about hort therapy and how people and plants work together. Then on the 25th of September, we'll have urban pest and landscapes. That's going to be with Faith Oy. She's our termite specialist. And we have a lot of questions about termites and mulch and insects getting inside from the landscape. So Faith will talk to us about that. Then in October, we're going to have a bat presentation with Shelley Johnson, benefits of bats and conserving bat habitat. Like some of you might know that bats will go ahead and nest in sable palm brown leaves, fallen brown leaves. So will talk to us about that. November 20th, we will have mushrooms in Florida with Dr. Matt Smith. And then in December, Wayne Hobbs and I are going to be talking about artificial intelligence and using AI in plants and search engines and GPT as far as plant diagnosis goes. So those are our webinars that are coming up. I do hope that you get registered and can attend at least some of them. Remember that all the webinars are recorded. The recordings live on the Master Gardener Volunteer website under resources. You go to webinars and you can get webinars all the way back to 2017. So definitely go check out some old webinars if you are interested, but know that you can always see the recordings. And I believe that's my last slide. So let me see if I have any questions in here. Oh, okay. The address for the Sundial Garden is the Manatee County Extension Office. So you can look up Manatee County Extension Office. Basem asked how to apply for awards. The awards of excellence are giving every other year. And we do have, I do put a call out to all the MGBs and the MGB coordinators. And that is on the Master Gardener website. Again, if you look under what we do under awards, you'll see the applications there. And how can we start an MGB project within the county? Writing a proposal and getting approval. So Kathy, for that, it's a really great conversation to have with your Master Gardener coordinator. So if you have a good idea about what you want to do, kind of do a little bit of legwork ahead of time and figure out, well, how much time would this draw? You know, do we have the capacity and volunteers? I always say, if you say, I've got a great idea, you may be the chairman of that committee. So be prepared to lead the charge. But remember that education is what we're about. We're not just about beautification. So I don't know if you noticed through all of these projects, there was an educational element. So think about what kind of education would be going and how you can align that education with the objectives that the Master Gardener Volunteer Coordinator has in their program. Okay, Janice says, great year of knowledge. I look forward to what you have in store for 2025. Me too, Janice. Keep up the good work in Volusia. Okay, Kate says, good job. Clara, thank you for holding the webinars. Well, thank you for pulling all the Ardesia, Clara, and educating about it at the same time. And Myrna says, thank you. And Janice is ready to go on a trip. Of course, I am too. All right. Thank you, everybody. I want to wish you a happy holiday season. I hope it's restful. I hope you get lots of gardening books and plants and seeds and gloves and hats and stuff like that for Christmas. And that, or the holiday. Oops, I said it, but for how you do things. And please go ahead and register when you get an opportunity. And if the Kathy's still here, the Manatee Extension office is 1303 17th Street West, Palmetto. 1303 17th Street West, Palmetto, Florida. All right, you all. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and we will see you in 2025. Bye.